quick disclaimer before the video actually properly begins. The other half of the recording for this, for some reason, my mic just wasn't being picked up. But that shouldn't really matter too much at all, as most of it will be voiceover, but just keep that in mind, okay? Enjoy. Traversal is a horror survival game in which you, the player protagonist, spawn in as a fucking D-class, alongside your friend that you decide to bring along. In this case, it was Devin. And after some time passes, our characters will eventually wake up, and from there we can start playing the game. Which, in my experience, usually goes a little something like this. I'm gonna die. Oh god. Devin, pull away now. Pull away now.
Nah.
There's 3!
Oh crap! They jump in me!
Oh!
Oh crap!
I'm dead. Oh, dead as hell. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm getting jumped!
You're getting jumped. Oh my god. Dude, Cletus! No! God.
Go.
You got jumped.
Damn.
Kick him! Ah, take the weapon! Take the weapon!
Back it up.
Oh!
So if you're low enough health, they just finish you.
Which is another thing I should probably just... You know what? Screw it. This section's just gonna be dedicated to the combat of the game. Then I'll go with stealth. It's a bit weird to go that way, but fuck it, we ball. Now, the combat in the game in itself is actually pretty good. Most requires you to know positioning, but more importantly, learn how to parry, as you're seeing in this clip right here. But another thing you should also be mindful of is the amount of enemies around you. You might be able to win in a one-on-one fight effectively, but if you're getting ganked by 3 or 4 guys like we're shown here, you're not going to win that fight even with a friend. Primarily because the NPCs in this game actually know how to fight, meaning if you want to take on an enemy one-on-one, you need to bait them out by either throwing a bottle, or by making them have direct eye contact with you and let them run at you. Oh, and just a quick note, in the event that you and all your teammates die, you all respawn at the last checkpoint that you encountered without any weapons. This will force you, the player, to actually have to go actively look for weapons, or find a way to bait enemies to go into areas that you can go around them. But I'll go in depth more about that later. As for the melee weapons themselves, they come in 3 different categories as far as I'm aware. Medium, heavy, and light. And 2 subclasses being sharp and blunt objects. Heavy weapons deal a lot of damage per swing, however are fairly slow and have a little bit of longer recovery time when compared to all other weapons. Moreover, their parry time is also very slow, meaning you have to plan ahead and be picture perfect with your parries or blocks in order to counterattack your enemy. Medium weapons do a decent amount of damage but also have a solid parry timing, letting you parry enemies effectively and also standing a chance against anyone using heavy. You absolutely do not want to get hit by any kind whatsoever, whether it be blunt or sharp. As for light weapons, there's only one as far as I'm aware, and that being the pocket knife. This one you can find fairly commonly on enemies, or in the starting room, assuming you haven't died already and lost it. Light weapons don't deal a whole lot of damage as a whole, however their greatest strength is their speed, letting you parry attacks almost instantaneously, while also quickly slashing at your enemy, getting in some free hits before backing off. On top of that, when compared to all other melee weapons, they drain the least amount of stamina, indicated by a blue bar directly below your red bar, which is your health, seen in the bottom right of the screen that you're looking at right now. In order to combat enemies effectively, you need to make sure you can single them out as best you can, but more importantly, make sure you time the parries almost perfectly, and if not, try to shove them by using the parry button again. This will take quite some time to master, but if you can get the hang of it, you'll be able to survive fairly effectively. Unlike me, who, I'm gonna be honest, I kinda suck. Nothing wrong with that, of course. Now that short overview is out of the way, let's talk about stealth. Stealth is a big factor of this game and will usually determine whether or not you can win most fights. Stealth in itself is pretty straightforward. Don't make too much loud of a noise, use objects to bait enemies by throwing them around, by picking them up with the space key, and then throwing them with 3. Enemies that patrol around the area will be aggro towards it and will run towards the noise closest to them. However, stationary targets, like that guy who's leaning up against the wall in this clip, they will not be aggroed by this at all and will mostly ignore it unless it's thrown very close to them. More importantly, they also have a very large line of sight, so if they spot you, they'll immediately aggro. Be wary of that while playing this game. Now, assuming you're much stealthier than I am, you should be able to perform what is known as an execution.
Hey, buddy.
Executions can be done with any type of melee weapon, regardless of its type, and all you need to do is make sure the enemy is not aggroed directly against you and that you are directly behind them. And more importantly, you see a red circle which will indicate that you can execute them directly on their head.
Kobe. I hit one! I hit one! I hit one on accident! I'm sorry!
Be very mindful on where you throw anything in particular. You could use them to bait enemies, but if you're not careful, like my friend here, you'll accidentally hit an enemy directly aggroing them. This can be really bad as they'll immediately target your last known position in game from which you throw it. But for some reason the NPCs are also partially blind, like shown here, who clearly saw my Devin over here, but instead choose to play Ring Around the Rosie with him, costing the enemy his life.
Yo ass grass! Yeah, I'm taking time.
Baiting enemies into a much better position for you to execute them is extremely beneficial, as it can thin the horde out much easier and put less pressure on you and any other members of your team that are currently playing the game. Now onto the last part. How I genuinely feel about this game is pretty damn positive, actually. All the aspects that I talked about in-game are executed fairly well and don't feel completely bullshit sometimes.
Oh, little legs, go!
No, sometimes. In some sections of the games, it might feel a tad bit frustrating that some enemies can just see you outright with seemingly no way to counter them. The game gives you plenty of opportunities to find ways around them in creative ways. All you need to do is figure it out. The game may never give you a melee weapon off rip, but it might give you something like a brick or a bottle that you can use to throw and bait enemies away, letting you sneak past them. Moreover, you can also take advantage of the environment or be disadvantaged by said environment if you're not careful. For example, if you run, you'll make too much noise, and enemies will hear you and immediately run towards you, possibly killing you or messing up an ambush you were setting up. And on a final note about stealth, environments do matter. Most of the enemies can't really see you unless you're standing up. So if you're literally sitting right there next to a bunch of boxes where they should be able to see your forehead, as long as you're crouching, they'll never see you unless you directly stand up to attack them or move around. But keep that in mind when you're setting up an ambush, like shown right here, where I'm patiently waiting for him to make an approach, then don't come on the freaking head.
Oh, he's cooked. He's cooked. Damn! Robbed of his chains.
This game requires a few things from the player. First one is the competence to understand and defeat said enemies on an individual level, depending on their weapon. The ability to sneak around environments.
Watch this.
And lastly, the ability to sneakily bait and execute enemies when need be. And as for how it's executed in-game, it's actually pretty good. It feels solid, I'll say that much, and I'm probably repeating myself here, but it is like 2 AM right now, and I could care less about it. Now to the last part. Is this game worth your time? Absolutely. This game may not be as exciting as some more of the more popular games on Roblox that are more action-packed, but this game requires you to actually think about everything you do in the game, from how you approach an enemy to how you're going to fight them. You need to learn and adapt on the fly, but more importantly, sneak around when need be. You're not the main character of the story, you're just the man trying to survive. And with that, I think we reached the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and have a nice day.